what does it mean to make the fifth dimensional real? In fact, what does real mean? One of the challenges of being human within confusing now is that the definition of real seems to change daily. What is real? And what is truth? Seems to change every day, and with every thought and emotion. What is actually occurring is that we are in the process of preparing our Earth vessel to resonate to the frequency of the fifth dimension and beyond. It is only when our consciousness has expanded to resonate to at least some awareness and communication with the higher dimensions of our reality, that the third-dimensional vessels which encompass your true fifth-dimensional self will be able to remember. This remembering can come in the version of a dream, a meditation, or any peak experience in which your consciousness can resonate to the frequency of the higher fourth, and/or the fifth dimension. Whenever your consciousness resonates to the fifth dimension and beyond, even if just for a brief moment, you will be able to experience the fifth dimensional now. Once you are free of the time-space format of the third and fourth dimensional states of consciousness, you will be able to remember what you always knew, but forgot. When we say always knew, we mean that your higher dimensional expressions of self which you have who resonates beyond the third-fourth dimensional time and space, you will no longer be limited to the logical, sequential format of third-dimensional communication. When you are free of that limitation, you will be more able to perceive our ships that are constantly visiting your planet within their innate, fifth-dimensional frequency of reality. The reason why humanity does not see the fifth dimension is for several reasons. For one reason, people usually choose to not perceive what they do not believe in because it frightens them. There are already enough frightening things in the third dimension, especially now within the extreme changes of your planet and daily life. Of course, some humans do not perceive these changes because they do not want to perceive them. They are not ready to believe that there is a civilization that is much more evolved than them, and/or a reality which they can not control, because the third dimension presents many challenges, especially within your now. Many people have hid their head under the covers and refuse to perceive the myriad changes that are occurring with Gaia planet and weather system. Oh, it is just a phase, they say to comfort themselves. However, dear planet Gaia can no longer withstand the great damage that humanity has created on her planet. Therefore, Gaia herself has called us, the fifth dimensional, and beyond, galactics to assist her in her time of great need. There are of course many wonderful humans who have dedicated their lives to planet Gaia, her nature, her people, and have come to realize that Mother Earth Gaia, as the galactics call her, is gravely damaged. Furthermore, a huge percentage of that damage can be traced back to humanity. It is for this reason that we, your Galactic Family, have been called on to assist Gaia with her planetary ascension. We say planetary ascension as all who have intertwined their personal energy field with Gaia, such as the animals, plants and elementals, and even humans who have evolved their consciousness enough to perceive Gaia as a living being, are ready to release the training wheels of the 3D matrix. The 3D matrix was created so that lower dimensional beings would have a learning planet on which they could incarnate in order to learn about, practices and participate in the process of planetary ascension. Over the many centuries of which you are aware, it was known that great human leaders, who sacrificed themselves for the good humanity and for Gaia, underwent huge initiations to gain complete control of their physical form so that they could choose to leave that physical body, die and expand their consciousness, and thus their form, into the fifth dimension and beyond. This expansion of consciousness was never for selfish purposes, because it is the process of serving others that allows their consciousness to expand, return to their innate fifth dimensional and beyond self. This self was called their higher self. At first, the grounded ones sought to unite with their higher self, whom they know was a higher frequency of the physical form that they were wearing. However, over time, they forgot who they really were, and they forgot why they chose to take on an Earth vessel on a planet that would likely face huge challenges during that incarnation. Because they forgot who they were and why they took an Earth vessel, they also forgot the reason that they came to Earth was to assist with planetary ascension. Worse yet, many of these brave warriors chose difficult childhoods so that they could learn more about the challenges of being a third-dimensional Earthling, as they called them. They had never experienced a traumatic and/or abusive childhood on their homeworld. In fact, many of them ever experienced a childhood because they chose to place their essence consciousness into a mature being. In that manner, they could get right to work on their assignment. Therefore, when they came to Earth and had one of the myriad forms of child abuse, poverty, lack of opportunity and/or diseases or birth defects, they had not way of understanding what was occurring. or how they could conquer it. Therefore, they devolved into third-dimensional humans whose consciousness was far too often limited to the perception of only the third dimension. Fortunately, some of them were able to move into a version of fourth-dimensional consciousness in which they could use their imagination to be creative, learn about themselves, their birth family, and the many limitations of third-dimensional life. If they were somehow about to not get lost the third-dimension maze of difficult childhoods, limitation, separations, wars and abandonment, they became very strong and very wise. It was then that they realized that they had passed the third fourth-dimensional initiations of life on a third-dimensional planet ruled by separation, time, space, birth, death, suffering, as well as many other challenges. Some volunteers to Earth never returned, but other brave warriors realized that since humans were totally responsible for all the distress of the planet, even the planetary changes, they realized that in order to assist dear Gaia, they would need to incarnate in a human form, often as a child or infant, and become a third-dimensional human. Fortunately for them all, at some point in their 3D life, many of them began to remember that there was much more to reality than that which was displayed by the many illusions of the third dimension. These ones realized that, if they could expand their consciousness into the fourth dimension, they would be able to discover their innate creativity, interdimensional imagination, the joys of nature, of the deep love for Gaia, as well as for many of her beings, which sometimes included humanity. However, they did discover that they would need to study humanity and why so many humans had forgotten their true multidimensional self. In fact, they realized that many of the lost and confused humans were galactics, just like them, who had become lost in the illusions and negative energy fields. In fact, they did not even know what a negative energy field was, as they did not exist on their fifth-dimensional homeworlds, or on their ships. Eventually, we, the members of our starships, began to come into the dreams and meditations of their galactic friends who had volunteered to incarnate on Earth to assist Gaia in her awakening and awaken humans. We say awakening and awake humans, as those who had not expanded their consciousness into the higher fourth or fifth dimension were not able to perceive us. At first, we exposed our ships more often, but we found that all that did was to frighten humans or turn us into the gods. It was not helpful for us to serve as gods or saviors, but we did realize that if we could find a human who was able to go through the many challenges of expanding their consciousness beyond the third and lower fourth dimensions, a member of their humanity could assist them to believe in a form of higher power. We Pleiadians are not a higher power for humanity, but many of us have taken incarnations on Earth to discover the manner in which we could best assist humanity and remind them that Earth is a living being just as they are. We found that humans enjoyed having an external human who appeared to be above them, but they often worshipped us in some primitive manner rather than listening to our message. The problem was, and still is, that Earth has been primarily ruled by a group of beings from a devolved society in the Sirius system. This devolved society lost its way, and rather than assisting others, they begin to harm others. Unfortunately, rather than following the loving examples of Venus and the Pleiades, too many humans followed the dominating examples of the Sirians. However, the Sirians were not always dominating, but that is a different story. Basically, because the Sirians lost their power within, they repeated what had been done to them and chose to have power over. The Ascended Master from Earth have been higher dimensional beings who have volunteered to come to Earth to assist with planetary ascension. Unfortunately, the humans chosen to only perceive that the ascending individual did something for himself, and forgot the true messages of love and light that these ascending beings presented. We, the Arcturians, as well as the fifth-dimensional beings who have chosen to assist Gaia in her time of great need, have come into your consciousness to remind you that unconditional love is the healing force of the multiverse. We are happy to tell you that more and more humans are beginning to remember this fact. However, the humans of Earth have developed a reality in which they put much more attention on the fear of a problem and too often forget to find and focus on the solution of that problem. Also, the Dark Ones have worked very diligently to put inadequate or power over others humans in positions of power. However, please remember that the darkest night is just before dawn. Therefore, sometimes the darkness must reign in order to get humanity out of denial. No one wants to know if their way of is being threatened, or that one that they thought they could trust can only care for themselves. Humanity has too often put their head under the pillow rather than perceive what is actually occurring. Therefore, it is left to the brave and awakened humans, and our galactic family who have taken 3D Earth vessels to assist them, to realize that they do not need to remain in that darkest night because the dawn is here within this now. Please remember that you find what you look for. Therefore, if you just look for problems, and ignore the possible solutions, the problem will remain and the solution will be forgotten. On the other hand, just a moment or two within the fifth dimensional now will expand your consciousness enough to remember your true multidimensional self, as well as the reason why you chose to take a third dimensional form within this now. Once you remember, and walk a mile with your reason for incarnation, you will be able to proceed with the promise that you made before you took a third dimensional form on dear Gaia. Please remember that this promise is within you. Therefore, as you meditate, study, and do whatever makes you remember yourself, you will become yourself in your third dimensional reality. However, even ascended masters could not always be their higher self in daily life. Therefore, be gentle with yourself and allow that you to find your way to remember your true multidimensional self and to be that self as often as is possible. Even your own higher self does not expect that you are perfect. Remember that you chose to be a human so that you could learn how to assist humans, to remember that even humans are multidimensional beings who are brave enough to limit your human self to the third, fourth dimension so that you can better serve Gaia and awaken humanity. Blessings to you all, and we, the members of your galactic family, thank you again and again for the service that you are giving to Gaia and her humanity, the Arcturians and your galactic family. Thank you dear Pleiadians for communicating with us. I am also so very happy to hear you say that I, too, am Pleiadian. I wished that was true, and your sharing that information brings great joy to my heart. In fact, I can hear feel, for in the fifth dimension our hearing is a hear feel and our seeing is as see feel, that the Arcturians are ready to send you all a message. I will attach below. Dear Earthlings, we the Arcturians are very pleased to send you a message. This message is to you, which includes all living beings who are able to receive, attend to, and or share our messages. We Arcturians are honored to send you messages about what is occurring in the higher dimensions that encircle Gaia. We Arcturians also have our frequent transmissions that we send to Earth on a regular basis. We are so pleased to receive the added assistance of the Pleiadians, who will be the members of our first landing party to Earth. The Pleiadians are well suited to begin this process as they appear more human and are more able to understand human behaviors. Also, the Pleiadians have taken many Earth vessels to better understand humanity. Dear Arcturians, we thank you within this now for your introduction. We know that many of the awakened members of Gaia are in regular contact with both us, the Pleiadians, and you, the Arcturians, because we share ascension messages with the grounded volunteers on Earth. We begin by thanking our dear Pleiadians friends and comrades for their great sacrifice of taking a human Earth vessel to assist humanity and to gather important information about Gaia health and welfare. We the Pleiadians, quite often, and the Arcturians, occasionally, take Earth vessels to better understand Earth society. The most difficult part of our joining Earth society is the illusion of being alone. On the ship we Galactics, are in constant contact with everyone on the ship. We can easily recognize each other by their aura, and we can intermingle our auras to share our every thought and feeling without speaking. The leaders of our welcoming team are chosen by their experience with intermingling their auras with all the members of the ship, or while on Earth, to share their personal and professional lives. These leaders are chosen by their experience, which is automatically shared via their auras, and the unconditional love that fills their aura. Also, all the leaders have, and continue to have, total dedication to our service to others. However, the term others includes the ship, with whom we all have an intimate relationship. The ship holds the 5D blueprint for Earth and for all of Gaia. Many beings who visit, and or live on board the ship. Most of the occupants on the ship volunteer to take away missions to physical Earth so that they can learn more about how they can assist with planetary ascension, as well as to have a more intimate experience with the grounded humans who are part of the ship away team. The biggest challenge for our away team is to remember the true self and not get lost in the illusions and fears of the third-dimensional expressions who have joined our away team to Gaia. We are not just multidimensional beings. We have the ability to be at one, or merge with, just our Pleiadian self, or merge with just our human self, and or simultaneously be our third-dimensional human self, our fourth-dimensional astral self and or fifth-dimensional and beyond galactic self. When we do not limit our sense of self to being a third-dimensional human, we remain in constant contact with our higher-dimensional expressions of self. We have found that this two-way connection with our Earth self and our galactic self can be very challenging. Fortunately, we are very pleased to see that more and more of our third-dimensional human expressions of self are remembering their fifth-dimensional galactic self while we are still wearing our third-dimensional human representative. We say wearing our third-dimensional self because our third-dimensional self feels we are wearing this component of ourself. Sometimes it feels like we are wearing a sweater or jacket to protect them from the cold, as well as the lower frequency energy fields of the lost ones who have forgotten their true multidimensional self. All of the expressions of our multidimensional self are available to our fourth dimensional and beyond states of consciousness. However, even we Pleiadians can become lost within the illusions of the third-dimensional reality. It is for this reason that we always travel with a buddy, as humans would say. When we are accompanied with a close friend and partner, we can both assist each other while we travel within the deep illusions and lies of your third-dimensional reality. From visiting you on Earth, we can see that so many of you have also chosen to take this 3D incarnation in order to learn how to expand our consciousness while being constantly surrounded by the low frequency rate of the third dimension. We commend you all, especially those of you who have taken many incarnations on third-dimensional Earth. We see that you do so to better understand the third dimension, and how to expand your awareness enough to bravely confront the many challenges that you, our volunteers to third-dimensional Earth, must face. Fortunately, when we Galactics take an Earth vessel, we are able to expand our consciousness, and hence our perceptions, to be able to read the aura of others in the same manner that we read aura and psychically communicate on our ships. Via the psychic information we can determine if a human would be able to expand their mind enough to accept that we are, indeed, fifth-dimensional beings from a higher dimension. Some humans, in fact more and more of you, are able to allow us to assist you to temporarily expand your consciousness to encompass the fifth-dimensional frequency of reality. When you are able to expand your consciousness in this manner, you are more able to travel to your starship and then return to your physical body with the memory of your life on the ship. As you continue to visit your home on the ship, it is much easier for you to remember both your life on Earth and your life on the ship. Even if your Earth memory of your life on the ship is dim, you still remember the Earth mission that you have chosen. This memory may come and go from your consciousness, but it is like a trail of breadcrumbs that reminds you that there is a way home, and you will find it when it is the now to return. However, if you hold fear, frustration, anger, sorrow or illness, it is much more difficult to remember your true self and your Earth mission, which is what you volunteered to remember and to do. We find that it can be very difficult to remember our mission once we are surrounded by the fears and challenges of the third-dimensional world. The process of taking an Earth vessel, and being confined to your fourth-dimensional physical and astral self, can easily make you forget your true, multidimensional self. It is for this reason that we take your sleeping, or meditating self, back to the ship as soon as your consciousness expands into the higher fourth and or fifth dimensional states of consciousness. While in these higher states of consciousness you can more easily remember everything about your mission. When you come to the ship, one of the first things that we do is to put you into one of the healing beds, which will assist you to ease your third-dimensional fears and worries, with your 3D 4D fears and worries transmuted back into fifth-dimensional love and light. you are more able to return to Earth with your innate higher states of consciousness and continue with your mission. Since time is an illusion of your third, fourth dimensional reality, no one in your 3D world will know that you have phased out of third dimensional time and space during your sleep or meditation. Since the third dimensionals have no concept of our reality, they do not perceive what they can not believe. Within your now, many of you are living between realities. Therefore you are not fully third dimensional, fourth dimensional or fifth dimensional. In fact, you the awakened ones are learning, as well as beginning to remember, how your third dimensional daily life influences, and is influenced by, your fourth dimensional artistic moments and dreams. Some of you are also remembering your fifth dimensional experiences on your starship, which is orbiting in outer space, and sometimes, around your planet. However, our fifth dimensional mothership is fully cloaked and does not enter too deeply into your solar system, as they could affect the planets too much. Therefore, we send out our scout ships, which are still huge according to human standards, but are not too large to affect the gravity of your planetary system. More and more of our grounded ones who chose to take an Earth vessel to assist Gaia, are seeing, feeling and visiting these ships while they are sleeping or in deep meditation. Unconditional love is the vibration that can create a vibration that is high enough to allow your consciousness to resonate to the fifth dimension. We are reminding all of you that our ships will be entering your perceptual fields more and more, so that you will not become frightened. Also, we will be talking with you all more and more, so that you will have a sense of joy and even jubilation when you see us in your skies. You see, more and more of you are expanding your consciousness to the degree that you can see our ships. Of course, on the other hand, there are more people that are frightened by the concept of our ships, as they are afraid that we will hurt them. These people are usually those who have unhealed fear and sorrow, as well as those who like taking advantage of the power over others on the third dimension. These people are not happy about our appearance, as they do not want to give up their power over others, or their greed and mistreatment of dear planet Gaia. Fortunately, change is coming to Gaia Earth. Those who have enjoyed their power over others will not be happy when humanity begins to remember, and use, their own power within. In fact, many of the power within leaders are having a face-off with the power over leaders. We are here within your now blessings. The Pleiadians, dear Earthlings, we the Pleiadians return to tell you about our ships. Our starships are all fifth dimensional, as they are galactic starships which can be cloaked to the third dimensional world. We may also choose to briefly reveal our ships. We will usually do this when we recognize that the humans who would see us are awakened. Other than that, we cloak our ships so as not to frighten the humans who are almost awakened, but not quite. These humans often have a high enough frequency of consciousness to perceive us, but they have not yet remembered that we are only interested in healing, guiding and awakening the humans that are ready. On the ship we differentiate the words and concepts of reality, ship and planet. Reality represents the manner in which different people perceive the same planet ascension process. Ship represents starships which usually resonate to the fifth dimension and beyond. Planet represents the planet of our origin, which is within our star cluster. We Pleiadians live in what is called a star cluster. Star clusters or star clouds are groups of stars. There are two types of star clusters: globular clusters, which are tight groups of hundreds of thousands of very old stars, which are gravitationally bound, and open clusters, which are loosely clustered group of stars. These open clusters generally contain less than a few hundred members, and are often very young. Pleiadians are from a star system called Pleiades. This star system is a small cluster of 7 stars located in the constellation of Taurus the Bull, which is about 500 light-years from planet Earth. Pleiadians are a humanoid race that visits Earth often and with whom we share a common ancestry of the Lyrans from Lyra, our common ancestors. The names of the 7 stars in the Pleiades system are 1. Tayajda 2, Maya 3, Coela 4, Edlis 5, Merope 6, Electra 7, Alcyone because of the many wars on Lyra, whereas Lyra many peaceful Lyrans left on their spacecrafts and traveled for many years until they came upon the 7 cluster stars in Pleiades. They landed on a planet now called Era, which is located around the Pleiades star called Tayagata. Here is where they started their new civilization in the year 228,000 BC. The Pleiadians are a very ancient race of humanoids. They have kept a record of the complete history of Earth's human evolution from the very beginning to our present time. Pleiadians claim our Earth is 626 billion years old, around 225,000 BC. On one of their scouting missions away from the Pleiades, the Pleiadians discovered a small sun system with a planet called Earth. On Earth, the Pleiadians found 3 groups of uncivilized people. The larger of these groups were light-skinned and were of Lyran descent. Because the Lyrans treated the original brown-skinned natives poorly, they were forced to stay on Earth and enter into Earth incarnational cycle. The primary areas in which the Pleiadians lived is now known as Bali, Hawaii, Samoa and India. Between 196,000 BC and 10 AD civilizations came and went on Earth with many wars, peaceful cycles and natural disasters. The Pleiadians stayed with humans on Earth until 10 AD trying to help develop various civilizations such as the Lemurians, Mayans, Inca and a civilization at Machu Picchu. They all tried to guide humans towards a more spiritual path. At about 10 AD, the last Pleiadian leader, called Pleiades, left Earth for good, because Pleiadians finally achieved peace back home in the Pleiades. Also, they felt it was time for humans to evolve on their own. Before leaving Earth, the Pleiadians left a spiritual leader called Manuel. Manuel was a very evolved soul, whose father was Gabriel of the Pleiades system, and Mary, who was of Lyran descent. Earth continued to evolve on its own without direct Pleiadian leadership till the present time. In the very near future, as Earth enters the photon band by year 2000, this part of the sentence is from the internet, and was written long ago. The Pleiadians are going to help bring all humans on Earth into the light. We are 18 years past that date, and the name Pleiadians and the Pleiades is now becoming known to many humans on Earth. The following is a brief description of Pleiadian culture on the home planet of Era. Era is located around the star called Tayagata. Era is 10% smaller than Earth. The Pleiadians are a goddess society which worships family, children, women. They are on a 5th dimensional frequency, which is one of love and creativity. About 400,000 people live on Era, which the Pleiadians feel is the ideal amount for the welfare of their planet. The people of Era are telepathic, therefore they have no need for any external communication devices. The Pleiadians are primarily vegetarians, but on occasion eat some meat. They have no medical problems, for they control their health by using their own mental powers. The average age of a Pleiadian is 700 years. Their skin is whiter and smoother than human skin. The Pleiadians do not have blood, and they have a memory matrix of light. The Pleiadians have no currency as we know it. They share the resources of their planet with all. All material goods are given to the people freely, and it is based on their contribution to their society. However, we often show the higher 4th and 5th dimensional frequency of our ship, as people who perceive that frequency of reality have a higher state of consciousness. The Pleiadians mostly stay away from any 3rd dimensional exposure to Earth, as there are too many people still who would become frightened or would try to shoot them down. Of course, humans could not shoot them down, but they may frighten others, or their weapons could hit something else and harm others. Reality is specific for each person's state of mind and level of consciousness. Therefore, some people have spent their lives finding ways to educate people that Gaia is a living being and that humanity has been treating her very poorly. On the other hand, some people see the planet as a place where they can take what they want to have, no matter what the cost to the planet. These people are often called the Illuminati, or the Dark Ones, or those who lie via power over others with no concern for others. These selfish leaders who do not care about the planet, or even the people who live on it, and only care about themselves, their own money, and their own power over others. These humans will not be able to even perceive the higher dimensions of reality, much less enter into that vibrational world or starship. On the other hand, more and more of the awakened ones who have expanded their consciousness into the fourth and fifth dimensions are answering Gaia SOS. These advanced beings are so dedicated to Gaia and her efforts to ascend her planetary self that they will actually come to planet Earth to assist with this planetary ascension. Also, anytime a planet is able to ascend, raise its resonant frequency to the fifth dimension, the entire solar system benefits from the flow of fifth-dimensional light. The Galactics applaud all the valiant attempts of the awakened ones to participate in the great honor of merging their higher, fourth and fifth dimensional personal consciousness with Gaia planetary consciousness. If you have found this interdimensional message and have taken your Earth time to read it, you are likely among those who are remembering and awakening to your own higher dimensional expression of self. The Pleiadians, as well as our Arcturian and other galactic friends, thank you for your higher dimensional service. Please remember that Gaia is a planetary school which primarily teaches humanity that energy out is energy back. Gaia also has on her curriculum courses to assist her students to release the third fourth dimensional illusion of time and space. Once that illusion is released, Gaia and her inhabitants will remember how to return to their fifth dimensional operating system of here and now. We, your galactic family, want to remind you that we are here within your now to assist you with this evolutionary shift. Call us. We will answer. Because of the many wars on Lyra, many peaceful Lyrans left on their spacecrafts and traveled for many years till they came upon the 7 cluster stars in Pleiades. They landed on a planet now called Era, which is located around the Pleiades star called Tayajata. Here is where they started their new civilization in the year 228,000 BC. Because of the many wars on Lyra, many peaceful Lyrans left on their spacecrafts and traveled for many years till they came upon the cluster stars in Pleiades. They landed on a planet now called Era, which is located around the Pleiades star called Tayajata. Here is where they started their new civilizations in the year 228,000 BC. Next article. The Pleiadians are a very ancient race of humanoids. They have kept a record of the complete history of Earth's human evolution from the very beginning to our present time. Pleiadians claim our Earth is 626 billion years old. Around 225,000 BC, the Pleiadians discovered a small sun system with a planet called Earth on one of their scouting missions away from the Pleiades. They discovered on Earth 3 groups of uncivilized people living there. The larger of these groups were light-skinned and were of Lyran descent. The Lyrans had landed on Earth earlier and were forced to stay on Earth and enter into an incarnational cycle. Because of the real treatment of the original brown-skinned natives, this became their karma. At this time, the Pleiadians decided to stay and create societies on Earth. The Galactic Federation allowed the Pleiadians to enter into an incarnational cycle with humans on Earth. The places designated for them to do this was Bali, Hawaii, Samoa and India. Civilizations came and went on Earth with many wars, peaceful cycles and natural disasters. Between 196,000 BC and 10 AD, the Pleiadians stayed with humans on Earth until 10 AD, trying to help develop various civilizations such as Lemuria, Maya, Inca and a civilization at Machu Picchu. They also were trying to guide humans toward a more spiritual path. At about 10 AD, the last Pleiadian leader called Pleiades left Earth for good. Because Pleiadians finally achieved peace back home in the Pleiades, they felt it was time for humans to evolve on their own. Before leaving Earth, the Pleiadians left a spiritual leader called Manuel, who later was known as Jesus. Manuel was a very evolved soul, whose father was Gabriel of the Pleiades system and Mary, who was of Lyran descent. Earth continued to evolve on its own without direct Pleiadian leadership until our present time. In the very near future, as Earth enters the photon band by year 2000, the Pleiadians are going to help bring all humans on Earth into the light. The following is a brief description of Pleiadian culture on the home planet of Era. Era is located around the star called Tayuja. Era is 10% smaller than Earth. The Pleiadians are a goddess society which worships family, children, women. They are on a fifth-dimensional frequency, which is one of love and creativity. About 400,000 people live on Era, which the Pleiadians feel is the ideal amount for the welfare of their planet. The people of Era are telepathic and therefore have no need for telephones. Their means of travel around the planet is done by a tube system. The Pleiadians are primarily vegetarians, but on occasion eat some meat. They have no medical problems, for they control their health by using their own mental powers. The average age of a Pleiadian is 700 years. Their skin is whiter and smoother than ours. The Pleiadians do not have blood. Their memory matrix is in light. The Pleiadians have no currency as we know it. They share the resources of their planet with all the people. All material goods are given to the people freely, based on their contribution to their society, in whatever manner one is able to give to others. With the help of the strengths and wise counsel of their fifth-dimensional leaders, they have been able to sustain 50,000 years of ultimate peace amongst their peoples. The Pleiadians also a wholesome spiritual life, and emphatically reject many human beliefs due to their connotation of cult involvement, being illogical, against the laws of creation, and the enslavement of human consciousness. Pleiadian philosophy is based on the universal truth of creation, and the knowledge of creation, which is directed toward truth of existence for all beings. They also know and follow the creative laws and discourses from the highest frequency beings. The Pleiadians believe that the ultimate power of creation is based on unconditional love, which embodies the universal consciousness and enhances spirit, truth, wisdom, and love, as well as the laws and energies of life, of being, and of eternity. Creation is perceived as universal self-awareness, and as the source of life of all within this universe. This universe, furthermore, is one of 10 to the 49th power other individual universes, which exist in infinite number, infinite space, and infinite time, as part of the highest form of creation, the absolute absolutum. The Pleiadians do not have a religion as the Earth human knows. They have no form of adoration of a god. Their spiritual life is based on life as the spiritual recognition of, and obedience to, creation, its laws and commandments. This alone is the guideline that the Pleiadians adhere to regarding a philosophy of life and a lifestyle tuned into creation. They believe that creation means the same as love, life, spirit, truth, wisdom, logic, and intelligence, which is built upon the creative laws and commandments that are valid and absolutely unchangeable for all time and eternity. Any life form, human or non-human, who recognizes, lives, and obeys the true knowledge of creation, the spirit which results from it, as well as the related laws and commandments of creation, can live in accordance with creation. This means that the life form is living with true knowledge of the truth and with the truth of creation and spirit, in fulfillment of the creative, natural laws and commandments which are valid universally, without any false faith and illogical and anti-intellectual. Dear readers, we welcome you once again to spiritual messages that in reality are not ours but yours, for they are expressions of your own state of consciousness. If they were not, you could not align with them. Whatever you are in energetic alignment with, you can experience. You have evolved to a state of consciousness spiritually prepared to release the old programming, concepts, and beliefs you were taught and accepted as truth throughout many lifetimes. This is the reason it often seems difficult or even unnecessary to let go of some ordinary concepts that have worked well in three-dimensional living. The three-dimensional mind, in its limited capacity for anything other than what is already in the collective, keeps telling you that things should stay as they are. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, you reading these messages are no longer in the third dimension. We have stated many times that you have reached that point at which you no longer need classes, objects, rites, and rituals to gain a deeper understanding of God and spirituality. You have come to that place in your spiritual journey where you now understand that you already have everything you had hoped these things would give you. You now know that there is only one and you are it. The journey now is about living this truth until it becomes your attained state of consciousness. Metaphysical tools do not or cannot make you any more than you already are. Continuing to depend upon and look to outside means, after awakening to the truth that God is already fully present within, will serve only to prolong experiences of separation. Please understand that we are not saying you cannot have and hold your favorite crystals, go to a class you are drawn to, see an energy worker, or participate in sacred ceremonies. What we are saying is that you must understand that crystals, rites, and rituals awaken and augment light energy already present but not yet recognized within you. Once recognized, the spiritual student must begin to draw from within rather than from the without. Crystals carry their own unique energy and serve to align and activate that same particular energy in a person. Never believe that physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual tools of any kind can give you something you don't already have. You are ready to accept that everything you have been seeking from others, places, and things throughout hundreds of lifetimes has never existed anywhere but within you. You have done the work and are qualified to let go of seeking and searching for God. You have found Him or it, and it is you. At a certain point, everyone must fully accept and live the reality of who and what they are as best they can. True spiritual living is not based in common three-dimensional concepts. Picture the saint on a holy card, but rather is the practice of meeting ordinary events from a place of unconditional love. Unconditional love is a state of consciousness that automatically recognizes every person to be a divine being in spite of appearances to the contrary. It may be accompanied by emotion but may not. After inner recognition, the person can then take whatever human footsteps he may be guided to take. Unconditional love is a facet of being in the world, but not of it. As the energy of Earth becomes increasingly refined and intense, your physical systems are changing in order to integrate these higher frequencies. The process of releasing stored cellular memory from hundreds of past lives and replacing it with frequencies of light may leave you feeling sick and totally exhausted on all levels, leaving the human mind to step in with dire warnings about all the diseases you might have. Try to go with the flow, resting and loving yourself as best you can during the downtimes, trusting that all is proceeding as it is meant to. Ascension symptoms will often manifest through the body's weakest area. Example: if you died of tuberculosis in one or more lives, you may experience lung problems in this one as old energy from the source as well as others clears. Clearing symptoms come and go, which is one way you can recognize them for what they are. However, if you feel the need to seek medical help, do so without guilt or resistance. Many of you are being intuitively guided to remove energy cords that may be actively holding you in energetic bondage to certain people, places, or things. Energetic cords are frequently carried from lifetime to lifetime simply because they are in the person energy field. They can be recognized by intense good or bad reactions or connections to a certain person or persons. Energy cords result in a draining and unhealthy energetic attachment to someone, partner, family member, friend, or enemy. Intense experiences of every sort can and often result in the formation of an energetic connection cord. Cord removal is simple. You can do it with intention and visualization. Ask your guides to assist you. Removing an energy cord does not mean the ending of love and interaction with those you love and want in your life, but means that the addictive and unhealthy connection ceases unless once again created. Parents often carry energy cords to their children or to one particular child. Relationships become healthier without energy cords. Talk to yourselves, sending them light and telling them that it is time to release all old three-dimensional programming, age, deterioration, disease, etc., and move into the divine blueprint. This practice often results in long-buried issues surfacing to be cleared. Never believe that the sudden appearance of some negative issue indicates failure on your part, for you cannot fail. Failure is a myth, a human concept based in the belief of duality, success versus failure and separation. You can forget or ignore, but can never be less than the fullness of the Godhead expressing itself. Trust that you are right where you are supposed to be, in the midst of a process that is sometimes uncomfortable. You are ready to let go of old programming that shouts you must do this or do that, and only in this way. You have graduated beyond the shoulds and should nots that represent lingering three-dimensional programming. Once you choose to stop being a slave to the three-dimensional belief system, you will quickly discover that the sky does not fall down and life proceeds very nicely. You must accept that things are going to be different. Many believe that as the world ascends into higher dimensional energy, they can continue doing everything just as they are doing now, but without interference. Because consciousness is the substance of all form as interpreted by mind according to an individual state of consciousness, the outer scene cannot help but change as personal and collective consciousness evolves. Trust and accept that your higher self knows what you need, when you need it, and how to get it to you, be it a necessary lesson or person. This is spiritual trust, and you reading these messages are ready for spiritual trust. Spiritual trust is the recognition that all is proceeding according to plan, regardless of how it may seem to third-dimensional thinking. Spiritual trust is an attained state of consciousness, and you are ready for it or already in it. Continuing to concepts of how spiritual experiences must be or look in order to be authentic can act to block the higher self attempt to bring to you some important lesson experience. A is God, and never Mary, Joe, or Betty. A is God. The word I is sacred and refers to the real divine self, but which through an awakened ignorance is thought of as personal selfhood, the one that believes itself to be separate and apart from God and all life forms. The master teacher Jesus taught the truth about I am, but the people of that time were not sufficiently evolved and misinterpreted his message as referring to him personally. This is and continues to remain the source of the most extreme error of present-day Christianity. Had only one person is the Son of God. Begin to realize the truth of I am and cease using the word I so much in its personal sense. Every time you say, I am sick, or I am broke, or I am a failure, you create that very thing for yourself. Begin to think of I in its real sense, the omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent I that is my true selfhood. Know that you are experiencing the dying gasps of old programming such as physical inheritance, karmic relationships, and cellular memory. Never claim problems as being personally yours, or you make them yours. All error isn't personal because the I that you are has no problems, nor does it know anything about problems. Divine consciousness is infinitely whole, complete, and perfect. If error, sin, disease, lack, limitations, etc. existed in divine consciousness, it would be forever held in place by divine law and could never be removed or healed. Once you consciously or unconsciously state your intention to awaken and evolve, you are on your way and do not need to keep doubting, worrying, and asking if you are doing it right. Every person is only required to live out from their highest level of awareness, and as they do that, more is given. It is a process because you still live in energies of time and space. Evolution is the ongoing journey of awakening into conscious oneness, but does not stop with that realization. Each new revelation embraced and practiced creates a pathway for more truth to unfold, because God is infinitely expressing itself, and thus so are you. The time has arrived in which all hedging, doubting, and making excuses must cease. To say, "I am not worthy, I am a sinner, I cannot be a divine being," simply reflects old, false, ego-based concepts of true humility. Once a person awakens to the fact that there is only one expressing itself as the many, they can never go back to being asleep, although some will try. With great love and respect for you all, we are the Arcturian group.